Inside Out as part of his class. You get to sit and watch movies and talk about them. It's a fantastic class. He has very much enjoyed it, and he's seen movies he would not have otherwise probably ever seen. Okay. Man versus himself
And society.
and society, because of the pressures and the things that we deal with in our everyday world affect what goes on in here, right? Okay, next one.
What is that?
Oh, that's the read.
Michaela.
Lord of the Beans.
Wait, never mind. I had an answer, but then I forgot it.
Okay, there's definitely some man versus nature because there's some pretty squirrely creatures that they combat. Tolan, what else?
Man versus man?
Definitely can have some of that too. Ivy?
Man versus
It's like man versus himself.
Especially in this scene where he's trying to decide, what do I do with the ring? Do I keep it? What do I do? My precious, right? All right.
She's
Try to explain. Garrett.
Is it against? Society.
Okay, society. What else, Emma?
Man versus man.
Man versus man.
Himself.
Maybe himself. There's definitely several things going on in Hercules, for sure.
We
Got
love
pressure
the bad.
to be great, to go the distance.
Dude, that's the best movie ever.
Hella.
Versus man.
Man versus man.
Where's
Who's
the
in the This is Toy Story 3. Palmer. Man versus man. We've got Woody versus Lotso.
People.
The bear.
Versus society. There
Toys
was-
versus stuffed animals, Michaela.
Well, that's not one of our options, but you're not wrong. Okay?
It's like they're not men. They're not.
They're not.
I mean,
Character
men
versus character.
It's toys versus stuffed animals.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Man, so in this particular scene, this is man versus nature. There's a lot going on in the Wizard of Oz. though.
Those are my That's my ancestors. That, you just said that's my ancestors.
Amaris,
Man versus man.
man versus man and society. I'm gonna say society there for Robin Hood, yes. Everybody hopefully has seen Finding Nemo. Ivy, what do you think?
I think it's kind of man versus man for
Okay.
Dory.
Okay. And I think internally too, she struggled with like, everything's so bad.
And her memory loss.
Yeah, and her memory loss. So maybe some nature in there
She
too.
doesn't have a mother or dad.
All right, that's the end.
I thought it was a team.
All right, have a seat.
All right.
Okay. Now, what we're gonna do is I want you to get your vacation story out that we worked on earlier. Okay? Just in your journal, we're just taking that page that we wrote on. We're going to think about identifying, and it might even be like an internal conflict. It might be man versus himself, right? Or maybe you're going to tell me about when you were at the beach and a huge wave came and crashed you. This happened to Matthew Metcalf. This was a true story. Knocked his glasses off of his face because he was the goober who did not take his glasses off before he got in the ocean. But man versus nature. Maybe you got stung by a jellyfish. Maybe you were on a hike and there was a slide and you fell and you got hurt, right? Think about, I want you to zoom in on a situation that maybe happened on your trip, on your vacation, on your day trip or whatever. And think if you can identify one area that you could find that you could identify a conflict in. And then just give me a short sentence about that conflict.
On the back. In our journal or on like this?
You can do it on the paper because this is like our rough draft, our notes. This is where we're brainstorming. Yeah, just on the back of it. Yeah. What's that line? Rut row. That's not good.
Do you need
If you don't have room on your paper, then you can just do it in your journal.
What about
Okay. You're gonna have about 1.5. Listen. We're gonna take about 1.5 minutes You are just going to identify a conflict and give me 1 or 2 sentences about it, either on your paper or in your journal, that you can identify as far as man versus man, man versus, something that happened with myself, something that happened in nature, maybe on a trip. And you may not have written about it in your initial writing, but I just want you to think back to that instance, to that moment, and see if you can find one. Yes, ma'am. Mhm. What now? So, because you're like, I don't want to go. I'm struggling internally with maybe doing the right thing, obeying or doing what you're supposed to do.
So do I write the thing again or do I rewrite one?
Maybe use some of our descriptive language, like rewrite it maybe as I sat there and thought about this, I realized, you kind of expand on it a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
So, no, no worries.
Yeah, and I would say,
No, it's me.
I feel like I never saw something like that's had to work for yourself, right? And you go back and just say, you can even start here and just say, those next 2 days while we do this, it was hard to think about what I had seen and what I had witnessed. And you can just kind of expand it. Page. I want you to write it in your journal. So just think back to your story and see if you can identify concepts. You can. I think you got this. Okay. Absolutely. Good. Yes. You could even expand on that a little bit more about, I got hit by this humongous wave. I was underwater for a second. Like, what were you thinking about this? How were you feeling? What were you like? Pull that out. So that's the instance. But then tell me how you dealt with that conflict. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. Did anybody find an instance that they'd like to talk about or share? Garrett?
When we were on our cruise, there was like a hurricane in the ocean.
A hurricane in the ocean you were in?
Yeah, but we like steered and like just like kind of
Okay, so what conflict did you experience?
said nature.
Man versus nature. That's a pretty big conflict. Ivy.
So on the bus ride to Gatlinburg, we had to share 2 seats for 3 people. Because like some extra high schoolers got on. And
Okay.
it was really difficult because the seats were really small.
Okay, so what's the conflict?
Like man versus man.
Okay, man versus man, and maybe even a little bit nature, because it's your environment. And we're not necessarily talking about a storm, but like the physical environment that you were in affected that situation. Peyton.
Whenever we were, going to the beach and my earbuds died and I didn't know what to do.
And that was terrible, because that makes for a really long trip without entertainment. Good. Emma.
I chose man versus nature because it was a really windy and choppy day. And like
Okay.
wave after wave kept hitting me. So
And yeah, definitely. There's the wind, the waves. Reagan. Oh, so that's like,
Is that
man,
nature?
I don't know, that's nature. Like, I feel like that's a natural situation, kind of like, yeah, she got sick, yeah. Allie,
I got attacked by a pigeon when I was in New York.
attacked by a pigeon, that is for sure a conflict
It
with
was
nature.
determined to get.
Oh, my Lanta. Okay, I'm gonna take 2 more.
How big was the pigeon?
Knox.
because they use them.
When my family was in Italy, my brother got really sick and he had to like stay at the hotel.
And he missed out on that because of his sickness. Good. All right, one more. Caitlin.
I did die on my flight, and so like delayed the trip.
Okay, so somebody died on her flight and that delayed their trip by 2 days. There's a lot going on there. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody pass away. Even if you don't know them, they're not close to you. It is still pretty traumatic to try to think about and process. And then your trip has changed and there's a lot of feelings that's like man versus yourself and nature because of what happened and what you witnessed. Okay. All right. Now flip over to the back side of your page, our plot mountain. We're just going to review this very briefly as we go through because in your writing, you are not necessarily going to need to have a fully formed plot mountain for an essay, for a 15-minute paragraph. But we want to take what we know about plot mountain and translate that into when you get ready to sit down to write, you make a quick outline, right? Think about your main points. Think about if there's a conflict. Think about how you want to resolve the conflict and what's going to happen in the end. That does not mean I'm just asking you to create extra work. It just means if you have a plan for your writing will go so much smoother. So when we look at our plot mountain, what is the exposition? Who remembers what part, what do I mean when I say exposition? Tolan?
Like the beginning, like you're getting to know the characters and where they live, like what's happening.
Okay, good. So we're getting characters and setting. We're getting some background information. Okay, good. Then we have, and it's not on this one because this was the one we added to, that inciting force. So you may remember, what do we mean by inciting force? That's like right on the corner between exposition and conflict. You may remember what inciting force was, Garrett?
It like really starts, it's like where the book really starts to pick up. and
Okay.
It's like,
It's boom, exactly. That's kind of the picture we got. Something happened. There is a catalyst. Something happened that set our story in motion, that without it, we wouldn't have our story. That is often going to be tied in with the conflict, giving us deeper conflict. Then we have our rising actions that build up, things that happen, main ideas, not every single detail, main things that happen. And then what do we have here at the climax, at the top of our plot mountain? Does anybody remember what we called that?
like main event
Okay,
that basically like a big plot twist.
okay. Oftentimes it is going to be a big plot twist. Something is going to be uncovered. It is where our action meets the problem. Something comes to a head. Something is getting ready to happen that's going to change the trajectory of our story. Amaris?
The Bronze Boat or our family vacation.
Both, either. We're just thinking in general, kind of reminding ourselves what Plot Mountain is really about. This is just really for reference, to think about, to have back in your folder in case you lost our other one. Okay, then what is the following action? What was that?
It starts to get better.
Okay, it's starting to get better.
Like it's going towards the end.
Okay, we're starting to wrap up some of our loose details. And then at the bottom, we've got our resolution or our denouement. I like the fancy French term better. I think it feels so much fancier to say denouement. But our resolution, how did the story end? What happened to our characters? Was it a good ending or a bad ending? Was it something that makes us say, yes, the good guy win, or like, oh man, he was defeated, right?
Yeah.
We talk about those. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the year about this idea of the stories and the types of stories we want to cheer for. You want to cheer for the good guy to win. Okay. All right. Slide your notes away. Get out Bronze Bow. We're on chapter 21.
Wait, literally.
Do what? Well, you don't actually need a new list today because I'm going to read today. So chapter 21.